I want to make sure that this is fairer, and so I'm asking them to stick to those 16 weeks in order to make a decision.
This is all because of what happened here in Lancashire. Under intense pressure, the County Council rejected an application to frack in this field there, but it took them more than a year to do so. Now, the industry believes that there's more than enough shale gas underneath my feet to power the UK for up to 40 years. And that's the reason why the government is desperate for this to happen as soon as possible. It was the moment plans to frack were thrown out of Lancashire, the end of a year-long planning battle. But today, the government warned all councils that the country needs shale gas, and in the future, ministers could decide fracking applications if councils take too long.
It's not fair to the local communities, it's not fair to the applicant, and I want to make sure that this is fairer, and so I'm asking them to stick to those 16 weeks in order to make a decision. It should be perfectly doable.
So what happened at Lancashire County Council?
40,000 was priced to the consultation, 7 volumes of environmental impact assessment.
For the first time, the BBC was shown the paperwork involved in the fracking application.
900 pages, a summary of everything that's here.
Tens of thousands of pieces of evidence.
We haven't been dragging our heels. You've already got to see the amount of evidence that's had to be looked at. What would the government expect us not to look at? What do they want us not to do in order to keep it within the 16 weeks?
Do you feel pressured?
I think it's a bullying attitude.
There has been an intense campaign in Lancashire. In 2011, drilling for shale gas caused earth tremors here, but the industry says fracking can be done safely and that the government needs to step in to sort out planning issues.
These decisions are not taking longer just in Lancashire. It's not just a Lancashire issue or a Quadrilla issue, it's a whole industry issue. We've seen the same things with other county councils and with other companies.
So what's next? Here in Lancashire, they thought they'd beaten an industry. The protesters may have left County Hall, but they haven't gone far.
We're standing up for our children, for their futures too, and you can't stop that. How do you just say to someone, stop caring about your kids, stop caring about your future? Because that's what the government's asking us to do, and we will not do that.
What's your message to the government?
Message to the government is don't imagine this is over, because we won't stop either.
That means more of this, and with the government's pledge to go all out for shale gas, the debate of how we power our homes will keep on going. Ed Thomas, BBC News, Lancashire.
The government will be allowed to intervene in planning applications for fracking operations if local councils fail to make a decision within 16 weeks. This new proposal to fast-track shale gas exploration is set to tackle the so-called hold-ups in the early stages. It comes as Lancashire County Council repeatedly delayed the deadline for an application to drill in June this year, citing that they needed more time to consider evidence. The process, which started in May last year, eventually resulted in a rejection. However, with the role of local authorities now under threat, some have questioned the government's motives with these new measures.
This is a shockingly anti-democratic and environmentally reckless move. Yet again, ministers are doing the dirty work of the shale gas industry and taking away the rights of local people to say no to fracking, whilst making contemptible claims that fracking is somehow compatible with tackling climate change.
Local residents can end up with virtually no say over whether their homes, communities and national parks are fracked or not.
Well, joining me now is Julie Wassmer, writer and environmental campaigner with the campaign groups East Kent Against Fracking and also Mothers Against Fracking. Evening, Julie. Councils are still given 16 weeks to make a decision on applications. Surely that's enough time. They're not being pressured to go one way or another, are they?
Well, really, these statements released today they're disingenuous. You know, Amber Rudd and Greg Clark are really showing a complete and utter disregard for democracy, as their previous speakers said. These applications are extremely complex and they have potentially life-changing effects for communities regarding not only the safety of water. I mean, for example, in Kent, where I live, the aquifer here serves up to 90% of the population in the county. And we fought applications in 2013 on the safety issue. But aside from that, you know, The decision today is saying that if councils really don't hurry up and reach the right decision, then that decision-making process will be taken away from them. That's in effect what's going to happen.
But surely speeding things up is good, because if the decision is rejected, then the fracking company really gets the message sooner rather than later, doesn't it?
Well, what we've seen already with delays to the system is that those delays have been created by the companies themselves. When there have been recommendations for rejection, for example in Lancashire, Quadrilla asked for a deferment of the decision. The same thing happened with Celtic Energy in Sussex, with applications for Wisborough Green and Fernhurst. It was the companies who had put in an application which really did not satisfy the councillors on important issues like traffic and noise. They have created delays in the system. And let's not forget that the reason why this industry is not off the ground by now, that there has been a 4-year delay since the only fracking that's taken place in this country in 2011 by Quadrilla in Lancashire. That delay was caused by the government suspending fracking after Quadrilla's fracking in Lancashire caused earthquakes of sufficient magnitude to cause...
Right, but now the government is telling us that these projects are vital to the UK economy, creating jobs, promoting economic growth, and assuring us that all environmental conditions and any fears will be allayed. So why are you not convinced by the government's commitment to this?
Campaigners have long known that all of the claims made by the government for jobs, for cheap energy, are all myth. I mean, these have been exploded. Even the UK Energy Research Council a few months ago said that all these claims had been overhyped. What we have here is a government that really, at the moment, should be desperately searching for an exit strategy for itself from a misguided policy to go all out for shale.
Just finally, why are we told about a success story in the United States? Why can't that apply to this country, just finally?
The reason it can't happen here is because we in the UK are learning from what happened in America. You only have to go to the list of the harmed on the Pennsylvania Alliance for Clear Water and Air's website to see 16,000 instances of harm in America. We're not putting up with that here. The news today has basically put the government on a collision course with the very many people in this country who are determined to fight fracking in the UK. You know, there are 450 groups now, residents groups up and down the UK, and Frack Free Sussex alone has over 10,000 followers. We are not going to go quietly. We will not be silenced. And this statement today just shows how desperate the government is to force this industry on the people of the UK, even when their own DEC survey recently showed that only 21% of people supported fracking, with 75% supporting renewables.
All right.
And yet Amber Rudd shamefully is making it easier for communities to oppose renewables than fracking. Shame on them.
Julie Wassmer, thank you very much indeed for joining us live here on RT UK.